Ted almost had one of his brain cells fire. They don't fire a lot in his head very often, but they almost fired today. Happy Monday, everybody. Fellow Beyond the Gates viewers, happy Christmas week for the show as we discuss today's Monday episode. I do want to say before I begin, the views have been going up month after month for my Beyond the Gates reviews, but only 30% of y'all are subscribed to the channel. So I would love for the rest of y'all to subscribe to the channel. The rest of you, 70%. I also want to say I don't know if I will be able to edit in pictures from the episode a lot this week like I've been doing. Probably today. I don't know about the rest of the week, especially Christmas Eve. I also don't know if I will be as consistent with the dropping it at the same time every day, but I'm going to try my best for the 3 episodes of Beyond the Gates this week. Let's get to it. Today's bad news for the show was the follow-up to the Anita storyline, with Sharon still trying to hide her secret with Vernon that Tracy continues to be onto more and more. Anita's at the hospital getting her bad news that she has one of the worst kinds of breast cancer, a triple negative cancer, a very aggressive form of breast cancer. So it sounds like the news couldn't have been worse for Anita. And what a bad time of year for Anita to get that news. So we are definitely in for a tough storyline with Anita's breast cancer. I think Tamara Tooney's already doing a great job with the acting portion of this story. So it's going to get deep, it's going to get dark, and it's not my favorite kind of story in a soap opera, but I'm definitely going to give it a chance. The only hope I have for this storyline is that Leslie stays far away from this storyline. If they still have Leslie being an antagonist to Anita while she's going through this, it's only going to be worse for the Leslie character. If the show decides to do that, then they need to be ready to write Leslie into a corner again, like they already did earlier this year, which they still haven't really gotten her out of that corner with good writing, to say the least. So I hope they are smart enough to not have Leslie involved in this damn breast cancer storyline. Vernon showed up at the house to see that Tracy and Sharon were together. He was just expecting Sharon, of course, but that was not the case. They gave him an excuse. Well, Tracy had a bad excuse. Sharon came up with the excuse that Anita was getting hearing test results, which Vernon also didn't buy. Vernon thought that they were just holding a Christmas secret for Anita, that she was out finding the perfect Christmas gift for him. That was not the case, though, and unfortunately, Anita eventually tells Tracy and Sharon the bad news from her biopsy results, and then gets home to Vernon to drop the bad news. Well, she hasn't told him yet. She'll probably be telling him in the next episode, but she did tell him at the end of today's episode that she has bad news. So they're off to a good start with the writing for this breast cancer storyline, as much as I'm not looking forward to it. I do still think the weak part of the story is that they decided to do the whole fake Vernon cheating with Sharon storyline. Like, I do think that's kind of taking away from that. I guess it will still be good for Anita to have a surprise from Vernon on Christmas, which I still assume will be the case and is the secret between Vernon and Sharon. But I'm over this Sharon and Vernon sneaking around. It hasn't been a good choice by the show, in my opinion. Now, today, of course, another follow-up to Friday's episode was Leslie telling Ted that she saw Vernon stepping out of a hotel room with Sharon, that Vernon is having an affair with Sharon. Ted didn't seem to buy it at first. Ted almost had one of his brain cells fire. They don't fire a lot in his head very often, but they almost fired today when he wasn't believing Leslie's story, or that she was right about Vernon having an affair. Leslie said that she heard Vernon and Sharon talking about how they didn't want to be seen together, and especially not seen together by Anita, not wanting Anita to find out what they were doing. So I guess maybe that added some evidence in Ted's mind to what Leslie was saying. I don't know. I did like that Ted is finally fed up with Leslie calling him Teddy Bear. I feel like as someone, if I was in Ted's shoes and had this affair with Leslie eons ago and she came back to town to ruin my life, I probably would have told her a long time ago, very aggressively, to stop telling me Teddy. But I guess, 10 months later, at least Ted finally told Leslie to stop calling him Teddy. So she called him Ted. Now she's saying he's just her friend Ted and that she has other irons in the fire. Leslie seems to be ready to move on with Marcel. I don't really buy that from a character standpoint, though. It's kind of too much of a change for me. It kind of adds further evidence that they have no idea what to do with Leslie at this point, because her entire persona on this show since the beginning was her obsession with Ted, and she's just going to drop it and move on with Marcel. Not a great transition for the character, in my opinion. And I don't really see Leslie as someone who would just be A-okay with Ted and Shanice moving on together, especially since she doesn't already like Shanice. But maybe they're not completely dropping that. As much as I don't want to see Leslie interfering between Ted and Shanice necessarily, I still don't think it's great writing to just drop that completely. Anyways, by the end of the episode, Ted did go to Nicole with his news that Vernon is having an affair. And before Ted left Leslie, she did tell him that she's giving him this info as a Christmas gift so he can know about Vernon's hypocrisy. And I didn't like the way the Dupree family treated Ted on the way out with his and Nicole's divorce. When Bill and the family were taking bets on one of their arguments, I thought they were treating Ted pretty shitty. To be treating Ted shitty when Bill's right there, when he's done much worse. He's been a much bigger cheater. He's just done much worse for the family, or against the family, period. So the Duprees looked dumb at that point, if anybody remembers that episode. So, on one hand, I understand why Ted is taking this information and hoping it is some kind of revenge on the family a little bit, to throw it in Vernon's face with the way they treated him, but it's just going to be more egg on Ted's face. Like, how dumb can they possibly make this character? So he's going to Nicole with this information, and it's just going to cause a bigger rift between them probably. When Ted ends up being wrong, I'm sure Nicole's going to feel some kind of way, and Ted, per usual, is going to look dumb. So maybe the writing for Ted really just wants to keep him dumb. Maybe he is going to be this show's dumb character, despite him being a surgeon, but I guess he's going to be this show's dumb character. Now, the Christmas part of today's episode was kind of a pre-Christmas celebration with Danny and Martin having this rivalry of who's trying to decorate the best tree, I guess. I mean, first of all, both trees were quite ugly. Danny and Andre had their ugly tree that we talked about last week, with today Danny really wanting her tree to be better than Martin's and her party to be bigger than Martin's. Nicole and Naomi ended up coming over, and shocking information, Naomi was upset with Jacob, which seems to be the regular thing lately. They were fighting about something that happened off camera, but they did decide to show us later in the episode, when Jacob arrived, that Naomi came across the Christmas present that he got her and hated it, thought there was no thought into it. He came over with it. It was some sort of Mexican monkey hat, I guess, that sprays water. Never heard of that before. The writing for this show so far has chosen some of the worst Christmas gifts I've ever seen, from the bird feeder for Shanice from Ted to that ugly lunchbox that Ashley got Shanice. And now this monkey that sprays water. But the real surprise from Jacob was that it's going to be a Mexican vacation for he and Naomi so they can get away together and hopefully refresh their relationship. I hope that works for them because I don't want to have to watch their boring fights anymore. Like them fighting again today, I cared about this much about their drama. And that's actually probably too much to care about their drama because it really hasn't gone anywhere. But Chelsea showed up later in the episode only to get squirted by Naomi's monkey hat. Kat ended up coming too. We'll get to Kat showing up to Martin's house, but she ends up putting the star on Danny's tree, which I will say after the decorations did at least look better than where that tree started. Martin's party, I thought their tree was also ugly, but I guess it was more classic Christmas tree. They had the probably better Christmas storyline today because of June. June, once again, getting to spend a holiday with her biological children, Tyrell and Samantha. And she ends up giving them a gift that these gingerbread men that they made when they were younger, I guess. June's sister, Regina, kept it safe all these years. And then the sweet part of the episode was that Tyrell finally forgave June. So June, she started rough on this show with being a homeless and all, but she's definitely turned it around, and her relationship with her biological children have turned around. So that was our Christmas miracle for the day, I guess. Tyrell forgiving June. Eva ends up showing up thinking that Kat's not going to be there, but Kat did arrive, and she brought gifts for everyone, and still seemed like Kat was competing with Eva for the attention of Samantha and Tyrell. I guess the show had to remind us that Kat and Eva hate each other and that Kat's always in competition with Eva. That's one of my biggest wishes for the new year, is that we can move on from that rivalry, because I think the writing for that rivalry has gotten very terrible. Anyway, Ted eventually showed up to that party too before he went to Nicole's to give her bad information. Ted apologized to Eva, saying he didn't know that Kat was going to be there. But then Smitty had a big surprise for June and for Samantha and Tyrell. He invited June's sister Regina, who we haven't seen in months, to the Christmas celebration. And Samantha and Tyrell remembered Regina, so they had a nice little family moment, I guess. So a good Christmas for June. Good for June. And honestly, neither Martin nor Danny won the tree competition. I don't know why they were even in competition with each other, because Nicole's tree that we saw in Friday's episode for 2 seconds was better than both trees. But that was today's Monday episode of the show. We're off to our Christmas week. We had some Christmas stuff today, although it is kind of overshadowed by Anita's bad, dark news. So I guess we unfortunately have some deep storylines to look forward to. I hope the writing stays good for Anita's storyline, though. I hope once we get this Vernon fake affair out of the way, it will become quite a good story.